Oh yeah.
Hello my gaming family and welcome to another video. Bethesda is one hell of a developer. Why? Well, for example, they gave us Skyrim. Isn't that enough? I'm more than sure that it is, but in this video we won't talk about Bethesda or Skyrim. In this video we will talk about another game, actually a series of games called Fallout. Of course I will not talk about the biggest disaster in gaming history called Fallout 76. I tried it, didn't like it, didn't heard anything good about it and don't want to talk about it. In today's video I want to revisit two Fallout games and see are they still worth playing, and those are Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas. But before we start guys, you know what to do, right? Supporting this channel on the best possible way by smashing that subscribe button right now. So what are you waiting for? Anyway, Fallout is a series of games that I really enjoyed playing back in the days. In Fallout, for the first time, I encountered a post-apocalyptic world, not counting Stalker that I used to play before Fallout, cause I don't classify Stalker in post-apocalyptic games to be honest, but Fallout, well, that's whole another story. So my first Fallout game was Fallout 3, and then those were the days. I still remember the feeling of excitement while I encountered all the things in the game. All the retro things, music, the whole idea for the game, everything was so perfect for me in that moment. Okay, we are not here to talk about my feelings about those games, so we'll first see what are the stories behind those two titles. So, this game takes place in Capital Wastelands, an area on the east coast of the former United States in the year 2277, 200 years after the Great War. For all of you that don't know, the Great War was a global thermonuclear war that resulted in the destruction of all participating nations and abroad, global disruption of the climate and billions of casualties as a result of nuclear blast, exposure to radiation and all that within 2 hours. Yeah, terrifying. Anyway, you start the game as a newborn baby, and with help of technology your parents can actually see how you will look when you grow up, and that's how character creation works in this game, and I find it really amazing. So you were born in Vault 101, one of several underground shelters made to protect only selected people in case of nuclear disaster. So since you were born in Vault, it means you have no memories about the world before the Great War, and once you get out you will constantly come across the fragments of once great civilization. In the beginning, the game will follow you growing up, so you will have some moments playing as a teenager in a world, which is really interesting, and after that you will follow the story that will take you from the safety of your world and send you to roam the wilderness. You are known as Lone Wanderer, and the reason why you left your world is actually your father James. He was scientist in World 101, and when he disappeared, you left the world in search for him. James was one of scientists who worked on a Project Purity, which had the task of providing clean water for the entire wastelands. Once you get out from the world, you will realize that besides searching for your father and trying to survive all the post-apocalyptic horrors, you will also be involved in the conflict between the factions that arose among those who survived the war and who are not in the walls. Fallout 3 is my favorite in the series obviously, because with it I first time encountered with this type of games and with Fallout series in particular. The game is very deep, and you will constantly learn something new, find something new, or meet some interesting character. Also, if you decide not only to follow the story, but to dig a little bit deeper and learn something about the past, you will be surprised with everything you learn. The lore is really big and really great. Also, I need to mention my best and worst experience in this game. Throughout the game, I was constantly, beside all the activities, running and searching for, in my opinion, one of the best looking armors in all games ever, and that is Tesla armor. I don't know about you guys, but even today, after all these years, Tesla armor looks so badass. Anyway, I was looking for it, searching and finally got it. Yup, I can describe you how I felt in that moment guys. It was amazing. I also can describe how I felt after a few moments when the ending screen started and when I realized that actually I finished the game, finished the main mission. Man, I was so pissed. I will never forget that. Anyway, if you are looking for a game with a great storyline, you won't be disappointed with Fallout 3. Fallout New Vegas is another game from Bethesda set in a Fallout world. While New Vegas is not a direct sequel, it uses the same engine and style as Fallout 3, and many of its developers worked on previous Fallout games at Black Isle Studio. The story of New Vegas is set in the year 2281, 4 years after the events of the previous game and 204 years after the bombs fell. Unlike the previous installment, you start this game as a grown-up man known as a courier. So, as a courier, you're supposed to deliver a package across the Mojave Desert to the New Vegas, city that used to be Las Vegas before the nuclear catastrophe. Unfortunately, you get ambushed and the package was stolen, and you got shot in the head and buried on cemetery. Luckily for you, the shot didn't kill you, and you got dug out by Victor, a friendly but mysterious robot, and he takes you to the Doc's house. After you recover a little, Doc will run you through some tests which are actually character creation in this game, and same as with the previous one, I really love how they implemented character creation segment into these games. They are really originally creative and absolutely amazing. Unlike the Fallout 3, in New Vegas, character creation was refined to take less time and you will be able to skip the tutorial once your character is set up. Once you are ready, you will leave Doc's house and start your search for a man that wanted to kill you. And along the way, same as in the Fallout 3, you will encounter tons of NPCs, factions, side quests that at some point are maybe more interesting than the main story and will experience the depth of the game itself. When it comes to gameplay, both games are made in the same engine and you will find a lot of similarities, especially when it comes to the overall look of the game. Although it's the same engine, you can see the difference between those two games, and it's obvious there has been some improvements in the second game. Fallout is a true example of a real role-playing game. Character creation actually affects the gameplay. You will constantly need to make some decisions that will have some influence on the game later, so the two most important segments of an RPG, character development and choices and consequences, are strongly emphasized in those two games. Your decisions in character creation will be felt on the very beginning of the game, especially in New Vegas. There aren't as many quests as you may expect, but their complexity can be astonishing. Just be sure to explore them fully before pushing the story forward. Once it ends, the game is over, which means that you will need to revert an earlier saved game if you intend to explore once you finish the main quest. You must remember this so you don't make my mistakes from first playthrough. Don't force the story progression. I understand you want to know what happened, but the depth of the side quests are really amazing and you will have tons of fun by completing them too. But in case you skip them and you finish the main quest, the game is over. And the only way to go back and finish the side quest is by loading some other save, but trust me, it won't feel the same. When it comes to decisions in the game, the karma system has been very well implemented in the game. For every bad decision you make, for example break in someone's room, sacrifice a soldier to save your own hide, your karma goes down. If you do something good, for example find a home for an orphan or give a water to a beggar, your karma goes up. These situations trigger more consequences, dialogue choices open up, others close off, and your reputation will delight some while antagonizing others. So you will be able to play the game from first and third perspective, but I am more than sure that almost everyone plays it from third perspective. I personally love to watch my character wearing armor which I struggle to get. The V.A.T.S, also known as the Vault Attack Assisted Targeting System, was introduced in Fallout 3 as a unique method for eliminating enemies by stopping time and initiating a series of critical hits. This feature is absolutely amazing and super fun, and it rightfully deserves to be a trademark of Fallout series. Unlike Fallout 3, who implemented V.A.T.S for the first time in this series, in Fallout 4, V.A.T.S have returned with a few modifications, causing players to be less dependent on this feature this time around. In previous Fallout installments, V.A.T.S will freeze time, allowing players to select certain hit points on an enemy that will destroy the foe with a few critical hits. However, this mechanic has become easily abused, as many players treated V.A.T.S as a type of pause button, taking the thrill out of enemy engagements. In Fallout 4, V.A.T.S are still used as a means to target specific body parts on an enemy to strategically take them down. However, this mechanic no longer freezes time, but instead slows down time long enough for players to decide how to strike. So, how V.A.T.S actually works? Initiating V.A.T.S during combat causes time to slow down significantly. A series of boxes appear around the body of target that allow players to queue up a shot to those body parts. The numbers indicate the percentage of chance you have for successfully hitting those parts. Also, hovering over each box will show the amount of potential damage to be done on the life bar of the target. In Fallout 4, V.A.T.S also required the use of action points. Action points are essentially your character's stamina level. Also, the level of satisfaction when you land critical hit and blow away enemy head or limb, and the animation of tracking bullet before critical hit is enormous. Combat in both games is done very well. In combat, you will probably play from the first perspective, although you will find yourself fighting from third perspective from time to time. Weapons are great and using them feels super cool. Also, the enemies you will encounter throughout the game perfectly fit the post-apocalyptic atmosphere. All kind of animals, NPCs with Mad Max styled armors, huge and terrifying mutants with huge weapons. The enemy variety is at a completely solid and acceptable level. When it comes to world and exploration, the opinions are divided. Some players don't like that post-apocalyptic atmosphere and world, while on the other side, some players, including myself, absolutely love the wastelands. In my opinion, exploring in Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas is amazing. When you're wandering around the once glorious cities, and now is everything ruins, but on almost every step you will come across artifacts of old world. Cars, buildings, street signs, music on the radio. Although everything is destroyed, you will constantly have the feeling you can see how everything looked before the Great War. Also, exploring won't be boring at all, because there will be constant threat of attack both from various animals at almost every step, as well as from bandits, members of an opposing faction or some mutants. Besides exploring, fighting all kinds of enemies, doing quests and progress throughout the game, there are side activities too, especially in New Vegas. New Vegas, ex-Las Vegas, won't be that without gambling, right? Since New Vegas is known for its gambling, there are more ways to earn caps than before. On the Strip you can try out the slot machines or play blackjack, and while in the Wastelands you can play a game of Caravan with drifters. Caravan is a unique card game that slightly resembles blackjack but requires more strategy and allows you to build out your own particular set of cards. No matter whether you like constant shooting and fighting, or exploring old ruins and huge wastelands, or gambling around New Vegas, if you're a fan of good role-playing, good storytelling and games with post-apocalyptic theme, and on top of that, you, just like me, like to revisit older games, you will definitely enjoy both Fallout 3 and New Vegas. In one of the upcoming videos, I will cover Fallout 4 specifically and will talk in depth about that game too. Bethesda is a great developer, and beside Elder Scrolls series, Fallout series are an amazing job they did. Fallout 3 came in 2008 and New Vegas in 2010. And even after all these years, those two games are still amazing and definitely worth playing. And that will be it for this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, then like would be super appreciated so this video can reach more people. Also, don't forget to subscribe, and in case you want to support the channel in the long run, consider becoming a Patreon. If you like, of course. All the links are in the description. And as always fam, until next time, see ya and stay cool.